Um, yeah, let me know when you got my thing up, and I'll go through the talents on my screen actually if you want.
Got it. Yeah, I got it. I got it open.
Okay. Um, do you want your stream to see it too, or can you just see it? Oh, there you go. Okay. Um, I guess I'll just start with like the actual priest tree. Uh, but obviously you're gonna want purge pretty much every game. I think you automatically get Shadow Fiend. That's not even a choice. You're gonna get death every game as well. This is one of the huge new things is that fear cooldown is reduced. So now it's a 30-second fear, which obviously lines up super well with, things like kidney shot and stuff like that. So that's a huge buff for Shadow Priest. Um, Unfortunately, you do have to spec it to Purify Disease now, so I kind of will only spec that into other Shadow Priests. Um, Flash Heal is replacing Shadow Mend, so that's one big new thing as well. This is a talent. It kind of functions like that one legendary from Shadowlands, just kind of a stacking Flash Heal improvement, I guess. The other option is kind of interesting too, Protective Light. I could see this being good into like a Windwalker or something if they only can kill you on a set go and you're the kill
Yeah.
target and you can like pre-flash a heal or something. I think one of the coolest things Shadow Priest is getting is a lot better mobility. You're getting Angelic Feather, which is really super sick. In addition to that, Fade is now a snare removal. So those things are going to have a lot of synergy. You also have void tendrils now, so kind of an AoE route. Um, so like you could, you know, fade sprint one gap closer from a warrior or something. They double charge. You could route the second one. You could kind of outplay two gap closers there. So the mobility is like actually a pretty huge buff. Um, this is the double death talent. I feel like that gets me a ton of kills, so I play it more often than not. There's also a lot of death talents in the Shadow Tree that kind of synergize well with this as well. You have to spec into MC. This you're probably never going to play. You still get grip, obviously, and there's still a reduced cooldown thing for it as well. So now it's like a 1 minute cooldown instead of 50 seconds, but still like a relatively short cooldown, which feels really good. You get PI, you get Vampiric Embrace. This is a talent that I've actually been playing more often than not as well, because you're deathing a lot more often. You have something in the Shadow Tree that resets death as well, and you can definitely kill yourself with death, like if you're spamming it. So this is surprisingly important. You can definitely fuck yourself up if two melee are training you and
Or even if
spamming
you're
death.
low and you go for the big
Um,
hit and you just get
exactly.
clobbered.
It's like, oh, who's gonna die first? And you just kill yourself and the other person at the same time. That's the thing. Um, but two things that are really cool here are that improved MD is part of your talent tree here. So you save an honor talent slot and you pretty much get improved MD every game, which is super sick. You also get double PI every game as well. And so those are two really good improvements. I feel like body and soul could actually kind of be OP and in certain kind of matchups where you really need a lot of mobility as well. Bat with feather, etc. You'd just be fucking you'd be
Yeah.
like in cap form the entire game.
You never used
So
to stack them either. Like you
yeah,
have that option, which is cool.
if I'm farming an old world raid, I play both of these and I'm pretty fast. Void Shield, you're probably never going to play. This seems pretty good, honestly. I think the only alternative to like getting this talent is like choosing this one, but 90% of the time you're playing with things that have slows as well. So this doesn't have insane value. It's like it's still a pretty high movement or percentage slow. So that seems really valuable. It could be really good, but I tend to prefer this. Like one Vampiric Embrace can do like 100 to like 150, even 200k healing. So it's pretty sick actually, especially in solo shuffle.
In like a void form
You're,
too or something, you just blast.
yeah, definitely. Because you're popping right away and you're probably gonna have cooldowns up when you use this the first time in a shuffle. So definitely high value. Um, and this is probably really OP for solo shuffle too, just so you can get two instead of just one of these in a game, because the rounds are pretty short and dampening starts right away. This you're obviously gonna kind of pick every game. It's just like an essential PvE talent. Twisted Fate, you're probably going to get every game as well. Also super sick if you dot a pet and they kind of rot or something, and you can proc it in a lot of ways, so it's good.
And you're going for the
So
divine
Greater
star
Fate is
too.
removed. This is like, I'm not sure about this one. This is probably something you can switch out, but so Greater Fade got removed, which is pretty huge. but now Fade reduces the damage you take by 10%, and that lasts for 10 seconds. And with this talent here, Fade is only a 20-second cooldown. So you can have like 50% uptime on this 10% damage reduction, hypothetically, if you spam it on cooldown, which is actually kind of OP. Like if you mix that with whatever, like Focused Will, like that's a lot of damage
It's like
reduction
a mini
at
feint.
any one point. Exactly. Or it's actually better than Feint. Feint is nerfed to 20%. So those things together, that's 25% damage reduction. And there was a 40% HP buff. So the game is just slower paced. So smaller damage reductions like that will really save you. Um, so it's actually pretty fucking OP. Um, so I'm like fading on cooldown when people are training me, and it
Combined
feels
with
really
the
good.
slow too, yeah, or the slow removal rather. I
Yeah,
should say.
yeah. You can just kind of spam fade and feather, and people can F off a little more. So you get mind games, which is cool. It definitely hits really hard right now, and you can you have quite a few modifiers for it on the shadow tree. So I've gotten like 100k plus mind games. Um, this is a really big deal because this changes what filler you use. So mind games has a reduced cooldown if you mind blast or mind spike. So now instead of mind flaying, you have a couple of incentives. This is one of the incentives to mind spike instead of mind flaying as like your kind of bottom line filler, um, because it's going to reduce the cooldown on your mind games. So you basically don't mind flay anymore unless you're playing a specific talent here. So mind spike's kind of more of your filler now instead of mind flay, like kind of last priority filler, because of this. And this is the same as like the Covenant Legendary. You also get swap every game now, which is super insane because again, you're saving an honor talent. Between Fast MD and swap, you're saving like two honor talents a lot of the time. So that feels really good. You have a little more maneuverability here in the honor talents. So this is the build I play 95% of the time on the priest tree, but there are quite a few things you can manipulate as well. If you want to be a super tanky god, you can definitely be a super tanky god. So you could take, points out of mind games and put it in like Light's Inspiration. And because you got that HP buff, Desperate Prayer is really OP because we have like everything percentage HP based is really OP. So if this is like modifying your HP more percentage wise, you're just this is a pretty solid save. Even without this, Desperate Prayer is a pretty solid save right
What
now.
about the bulwark too?
Um,
I was using that before and it didn't
yes,
seem that bad.
so this looks kind of low key because it's just a 15% shield, but again, it'll save you a ton of the time. And this would really let you save Disperse in a ton of situations as well. Knowing you can pinch it, maybe not into an Arcane Mage that's going to one-shot you with the under 35% execute barrage thing, but this would really let you pinch a lot of defensives a lot of the time. So I could see someone like Prev who doesn't like to disperse ever,
He's just sitting
really
there
loving
fake
this.
casting Shadowmans. Like,
Exactly. He would love this. So these are like, percentage-based things that will make you extremely tanky. These are OP as fuck dual talents right now.
yeah.
And in addition to this, you could also spec Angel's Mercy and lose another Mind Games thing or two, which reduces the cooldown on Desperate Prayer as well. So that could be like 1 minute Desperate Prayers, hypothetically, if you're getting trained. So I feel like you're more tanky than you were in the past, even though you don't have Greater Fade,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. So this is also an insanely sick dueling talent. It's harder to pull off in arena. Um, but this, because you have to time it really well with being under 35% HP for it to have value. But you'll destroy people in duels if you like go some of these builds over here. Um, any merit to talenting power with life? Pretty much only if you're dueling. It's I guess it depends how spiky damage is. You're gonna sacrifice a lot of things to get this far down. I would almost never play Powered Life in an actual arena setting. Things like Angel's Mercy or these things would probably be higher value. This is just gonna be a little bit harder to pull off. It could be good, but you'd have to be really calculated to get value from it.
You would also lose
Um,
all the fade talents too, right? So you're giving up
yeah,
what
you
something that feels nice to get that.
Yeah, the things kind of in this bottom like third here are the hardest to get because you can only sacrifice like other points in the bottom to maneuver them. So you're going to take a lot of power away from mind games, which is really a, consistent way to win games. Um, so you kind of don't want to do that. One sec, just beating my phone. The one other thing you can kind of manipulate, I tried this blessed recovery thing. I thought it would be really OP. It really doesn't do very much healing. But you could potentially get this some of the time into like double caster and it could be good. And you can sacrifice kind of less powerful things in mind games to get these things because they're kind of in the upper part of the tree. Um, but I don't really mess with it. These probably aren't going to make you win or lose a game like ever. So this is the tree I play the majority of the time. Divine Star is okay. It doesn't really. It's just something to use if you're out of like instant procs and you can't cast. So it's just something to throw out there as like a filler if you're kind of moving. Um, but it doesn't do a ton. You could move that point around. That's probably the thing I'd move around the most. Like
If you wanted to take
honestly,
that
I'd even play this if I
disease
want
or
to get someone
something.
out of spell. Or you
Yeah.
could play this. I don't know. There's not a or yeah, the disease spell would be the big one into other shadow priests. So, but this is pretty much what I play, and then you can double up on being tanky if you want, but don't really do that in solo shuffle. But the really interesting thing is the shadow tree by far. This is the build that I think is going to be the most OP like overall. I guess I'll just go through it. So you get Devouring Plague no matter what. You're always going to get Silence. You're always going to get Shadowy Apparitions. You're always going to get Disperse. Intangibility is probably always the pick here. This is something for PvE that people like. It's like kind of like a Soul Leech type of thing where you build a shield, but it's not a very big shield. So it's
30k and like a 300k health pool. Is that what we have?
yeah, I've got 300k, but my gear's not scaled up in instances right now. And I'm an OP beta abuser who everything scales up to max level in PvP right now, only on the beta.
Oh,
So
so you
I've
have
got
like
like
abyss everything.
some garbage gear on that sucks in the world, but they also changed war mode, so your gear doesn't scale up with war mode. It only scales up in PvP instances.
That's
So my
cool.
HP is not accurate. You probably have closer to 400k HP. So that's a lot of HP. Um, So yeah, this is super OP. Again, it's a percentage-based heal, so that's extremely powerful with the 40% HP buff as well. You're always going to play Misery pretty much. That just saves you a lot of globals, really high value. This, you can obviously manipulate, like if you're playing with a rogue or something, and there's stun DRs everywhere. Last word would be better some of the time, but I play the stun the majority of the time, especially in solo shuffle. Mind Spike, really high value now. There's some good procs for it, which are nice here, and the procs that you get from it modify your Mind Blast as well. So that's another fun instant proc. You have a lot of instant damage right now as Shadow Priest. You definitely don't need to cast nearly as much as other casters, at least with a lot of builds that you can make. And again, Mind Spike reduces your cooldown on Mind Games, so it's your preferred filler over Mind Flay. Um, this you're going to want to play a lot of the time. It's just a good PvE talent. Um, Surge of Darkness, this is your Mind Spike instant procs from your VT and DP. Unfurling Darkness, again, super OP, really reduces your need to cast. Super short kind of cooldown as well. But this is this little choice right here is the number one new thing to Shadow Priest. This is the big thing. So we're familiar with Void Eruption. Void Eruption is still really good, but it is a 2-minute cooldown. I don't know, Void Bolt really farms. This is the thing I would play if I knew I was going to get trained and instant damage was going to be more what I relied upon. But Dark Ascension is extremely, extremely good. And I think the best builds for really coordinated threes that aren't in solo shuffle are all going to involve Dark Ascension because it gives you this really short cooldown, insane burst. So it's a 1-minute cooldown, increases your kind of, non-dot shadow damage. So that's going to affect uh, mind games, void torrent, anything with your pet. So this is super, super powerful. Something to note with Dark Ascension as well is that it does proc Void Volley, and it is a 1-minute cooldown. So you're going to have really short, there's a lot of synergy there. So you can have really short Void Volleys with Dark Ascension as well. So that's pretty insane. But there's a lot of talents that I'll go later into that have extremely good synergy with Dark Ascension. Um, so yeah, Puppet Master is good. The build that I've got here is for, it really involves your Mindbender. So this is really important for kind of feeding that damage with the Mindbender. Yeah, that's kind of this row here. Mind Melt. This basically, yeah, every time you Mind Spike, it kind of empowers your Mind Blast as well, giving it an increased crit chance. So you're going to get a lot of Mind Blast crits, which do have synergy with Apathy here. So that would be, a plus for this talent,
Right.
but I
That's the
still don't play this
classic
talent.
like Kata Dark Ascension, or I don't think it was called Ascension then, but pop the wings, do the big mind spike, wombo combo, and then they're like paralyzed and they can't get to you.
Something like that. I didn't play Priest and Kata, but hell yeah. Shadow Crash is super new and improved right now. This is your second hardest hitting ability besides Mind Games. It hits really, really hard. I've had like 70, 80k Shadow Crashes with like amps. And then it also applies to your dots now. So Priest is going to need to cast less than ever before for applying dots. So that's like a huge quality of life thing.
Yeah.
And that's why Priest is like, the first or best like caster right now is because they really don't need to cast as much to do the majority of their damage
Right.
compared to some of the other casters.
It feels like if
So
you cast VT for any reason, like you fucked up because you can just kind of rotate neatly between the damnation, unfurling, and the shadow crashes to keep your dots up.
yeah, I mean it's good if you want to dot a pad or something or to get a kick for other people at the time, but you need to cast VT kind of less than ever before. So yeah, Ancient Madness is a thing. This is that crit buff when you enter Void Form or Dark Ascension. So this is absolutely absurd with the cooldown of Dark Ascension because this is hypothetically up 1/3 of the time, 33% of the time because of the 1 minute cooldown here. So a lot of synergy with Dark Ascension, and this is another huge modifier for your burst window with Dark Ascension. Shadowy Insight you're going to get every game. Mind Blast is really important for amping up your other damage. So you're going to pick this every time. Um, but yeah, like I said, this is my Mindbender build, which I think is the best build overall. Um, and so you play this to amp up the Mindbender more. This is another thing feeding into the Puppet Master and Coalescing Shadows. These are just all things to power up this kind of same ability here. I won't go too much into it. Um, this is a pretty low value talent. This is probably one of the only talents you're not really gonna pick a lot of the time. This just got buffed. It's not in yet, but it just got buffed, so I might play this more often. Right now, I don't play it at all. This is kind of an interesting choice between the two spirit options. This option is going to give you a little more burst damage, and this spec is designed for those 1 minute goes. This spec is potentially going to give you more pad in arena because you're going to have out so many Shadow Word Pains because it's always a multi-target situation. And your apparitions proc from, let's see, what is it again? From DP, Mind Blast, and Void Bolt. So you get more of those in PvE than PvP. So the Pain talent is probably going to be better consistent damage and pad, just with like the PvP setting. But I don't. This will all just depend on PvE numbers, and those are subject to change. And I haven't tested that a ton. But this is what I play with Burst. This is what I'd play more with Rot as it stands, just off of like general principles and ignoring some of the numbers. Um, this is really good with like a certain like consistent casting build that I won't go into yet. This is really good for the rot build and getting out a ton of DPs. 60% of your VTs will be procking, or VT hits will proc Insanity with this, and obviously you're multi-dotting, so this is a ton of resource generation for the rot builds, but I don't have it in this build because this is all about ending the game with these 1 minute burst windows here. So so here we get to the really interesting stuff as well. So you're gonna play Mindbender. It gets amped up by a few of these things. Mindbender is a 1 minute cooldown, so it's gonna line up with Dark Ascension. It's gonna line up with Siphon, and you're gonna have Void Volley with it as well. And the really big thing is Inescapable Torment to go with your Mindbender. Basically, while Mindbender is out, every time you Mind Blast or Death, it'll crank everybody for a good amount of damage. I've had this hit as high as like 40k. So like say you get a 60k death or something, and this will double tap everybody for another 40k. That's pretty insane. And this can be my highest, second highest, or third highest damage most games pretty easily.
This is
It
the
does so
PvE
much
legendary
damage.
last expansion that everyone used, and people kept asking me if
Yes.
it was good in arena. I'm like, yeah, I mean it's good if you can actually sit there and press that stuff off cooldown. But now you just kind of get it what feels like for free, which is cool.
Yeah. it's going to be kind of what we revolve around a little bit. So I think there's going to be things like people trying to CC your Shadow Fiend, etc. with the way this works. And you do so much burst right now as a Shadow Priest playing with the Mindbender. You can I just keep soloing healers really quickly and catching them off guard in solo shuffle. And it's funny. People rage whisper me because of this.
I like the
Um,
insanity generation too, because if I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was playing just before, like it felt hard to generate that first devouring plague before you get into void form. Like it's a very slow build with insanity if you don't have that out.
yeah, so that yeah, another huge thing to help you on burst windows. Um, yeah, and then this is a fascinating talent that I still need to wrap my brain around a little bit.
This one fucked me up at
Um,
first. I was like, what?
yeah, so the very OP thing here is that if you fear someone and you cast Mindbender on them while they're feared, you and your Mindbender will do 15% increased damage for the entirety of your Mindbender's duration, even if that fear breaks or gets taken off. So the ideal burst window right now involves you running in and fearing somebody with their attention up and then casting Mindbender. And if you do that, they will die instantly. Like it's insane. And then you're also going to be close to them because you have to fear. So Void Volley is going to get a ton of value there with the Dark Ascension and stuff as well. So there's quite a few synergies between things, but this is pretty funky. Like
There's a lot of damage buttons. It's hard to
it,
prioritize them.
you have so many things lighting up at once. Like it's definitely kind of a mind fuck and a lot to work through in your head really quickly and prioritize. Like on the burst windows, it's this is probably the most complex version of Priest that I've seen.
Is
Like in reality, with like pulling off the burst. Um,
is the
so,
hierarchy
but
just to
yeah,
keep the mindbender procking that second
yes,
talent, like just to kind of get the mind blast and deaths off, and then between that you've your mind games or shadow crash or whatever the hell is off cooldown is possible to get off.
exactly. So you want a death on cooldown. Death is definitely your priority during this burst window because you can reset it with this death speaker proc just from your dots. So you want to just get that out to proc this as much as possible, and then use your instant mind blast procs as well. Um, but yeah, if you get off a mind games with Dark Ascension and this buff as well, it is gonna just destroy people.
The
Like it's
fear.
insane. It's really satisfying. So it's a lot to set up, but even if it gets scuffed like halfway, you're still gonna one shot people. Like even if it's not perfect, but it's pretty cool. So it's a lot to think about, but it's actually really fun and satisfying. Um, and it's harder to pull off in solo shuffle, but I think in coordinated threes, I'm imagining like God Comp or something, 3 2 1s. This will be really consistently overpowered. Um, so the other talent that goes really well with this build is the Death Speaker talent, which resets your death and makes your death do more damage.
This thing is huge.
Um, so that's pretty huge. There's a talent that I really like as well in the honor talents that reduces the cooldown of death by 12 seconds. So I play this a lot of the time as well. So
Or
that's a
you
huge
drop
synergy
catharsis for
there.
that.
Yes, because Catharsis has the most value if you're getting hit, or you have to be hit for it to have value. I'll get into the honor talents a little bit later, actually, in a sec. I'll get through this tree. Um, but yeah, this is pretty insane. And your Shadow or Death hits everyone who's dotted for 60% of the damage as well. So this Pain of Death thing and Shadow or Death is like it can be my second or third highest damage a lot of the time because of this. So that's pretty cool. I play this in all the builds that I have pretty much. It's a lot of damage and it's instant, so easily done. This increases the initial damage of DP, so this makes DP hit for like 20k instead of 7k. It's
Little
nice.
noodle DPs.
Yeah, Damnation, you definitely still want it. I'd love to get a second point in this and to make it a 30-second cooldown, but a lot of the time I end up just settling and only putting 1 point in here. Um, and I think in real threes, I wouldn't even put a point in this, and I'd put it in Idol of Yogg Saron. This thing hits really, really hard, but it takes like a minute to proc. So in solo shuffle, which is the only game mode that you can play on beta, this doesn't even get to proc 9 out of 10 games because they're so
Yeah, I
short.
noticed that.
So I'm just playing this instead. But I think this will be really powerful in real threes with less dampening and longer match durations. And this gets built by your shadowy apparitions, and you proc a ton of shadowy apparitions during your kind of burst window. So a lot of the time, this will either proc on your burst window, maybe not your first window, but a lot of the time your second burst window or right after. So it tends to couple really well with like when you do your damage, and it cranks. So this is what I would play for like regular threes, but you put that point somewhere else that's useful in solo shuffle a lot of the time because this won't proc. Um, so this I think is going to be the best build because it's such insane burst damage. It's really consistent. There's so many synergies. It's a lot of fun. But besides that, I have like an instant damage solo shuffle build as well. Like if I'm fighting a DHDK or like something that's just really toxic for a caster and you know,
This is probably what you sent to me
yeah.
first. This is what I was
This is
just
what I
messing
sent to
around
you
with.
first. I
Yeah.
was like the highest rated DPS on beta for a while, like playing this build, and it was suboptimal, honestly. And I didn't even switch it or like read these talents correctly. So there's a lot of wiggle room as a Shadow Priest right now. Like you can, really swap these builds around. But this is just kind of like an instant damage build. I've got the points in the VT resource generation. I've got the chance to reset DP and make it instant from Mind Blast here. And then this Idol of Enzloff thing kind of cranks. It's just like an AoE pad thing. So this is just kind of giving up on the Mindbender stuff.
Because you
But
might
the
not have
big
the time to
change,
really keep that active with getting railed.
yeah, you're just getting railed, and there's so many anti-caster specs right now that are really, really good. Like notably Warlock, DH, and DK are horrifically anti-caster right now. So if I'm fighting like two of those things in a shuffle, I'm not going to play this kind of more calculated setup build because you can't think you're getting fucking railed realistically, and the instants are more valuable. But the big thing I changed with this build is I play Void Erupt instead of Dark Ascension, because Void Bolt does so much damage, honestly. And again, it's instant. So this just gives you kind of more instant output. So this is the build that I played for a long time, and this is what I would play if you know you're going to be, kind of dogpiled and shut down. Um, and yeah, and then you definitely want to play Catharsis with this because this involves you getting trained, and Catharsis requires you to take damage. So those are kind of the two main builds I play, but besides that, there's yet even more builds. So you can switch, you have to switch a couple of points around here, but there is a build that makes your mind flay crank really hard. And it involves getting this dark evangelism thing, where, mind flay increases the damage of your dots. And then this mind flay insanity thing is the big thing. Basically, every time you DP, it empowers your next mind flay to do a lot more damage. So that only stacks once. You want to be careful to not DP twice in a row without mind flaying, but this could be good as like a double caster
Like a
thing where
shadow play situation. Just
exactly where the pad damage in between the goes really matters. And yeah, this will do a lot of damage. And then you play this, which makes your dots tick faster while you're channeling mind flay. And this procs void tendrils that actually do a lot of
oh
damage
yeah, I tried to
from
kill one too, and I was like, bro,
they don't die.
this thing is fucking me up
Yeah,
right now.
it's kind of scary.
This one
So
feels
this is
hard in a solo shuffle to play. I tried these two, and it felt like there's just so
yeah,
many things going on. Mind playing is hard, but in like a double
definitely.
caster comp, it could be really fun. We just wean people out there and force them to kind of not be on you. This would be a great crank.
This is cool because like maybe you're playing with another caster that needs to cast and is really scary if they're casting. You can become really scary casting. You're not just a noodle who does nothing if someone's training your partner. Like you have these options to become a real threat if left open. So I really love that there's that kind of maneuverability and that option for like the consistent casted damage. And then the final build I'll show you. This build is like kind of insane. I think this build's gonna be
I can't wait to see
pretty
Pokemon's
cracked.
come out with some shit.
There's so many options. So right now, Void Torrent does a disgusting amount of damage. Like you can have,
PI Void Torrent.
it says that the tooltip says it does 77k.
No
So then you
modifiers.
put
Yeah.
in Dark Ascension and a couple of other modifiers, PI, whatever.
I think
You're
it
just
counts it
gonna
as a dot though, so I don't know if Dark Ascension would work with that, but
oh
like Void
interesting.
Form.
Uh Non-periodic.
Because
That's interesting. That's something to test.
Mindflay, I think also registers as a dot.
That's something to test. I feel like Dark Ascension modifies it, but I could be wrong. Um, but anyways, Void Torrent freaking cranks. You can get that on a 30-second cooldown as well. Um, so this build would be like the ultimate burst build, and you'd still have pressure if someone was training your partner because you'd get off those Void Torrents. Um, so this build, I'd have a lot of fun playing in regular arena, and you're sacrificing the AoE death thing, but you still got the death proc to potentially reset, death during your Mindbender thing, and then you've also got the Void Torrent. So this build I would also really, really love, playing with coordinated partners in threes.
Yeah, good god comp situation.
Um, it'll be so fun. You're just gonna obliterate people,
Uh,
and you're gonna be eating every kick, and your partners will love you. So this looks super sick.
I'm thinking like a shadow play with the first spec you showed me, and you take
Mhm.
psychic link, like that could actually be really funny if people are just rotting and you're just cranking.
Oh yeah, there's there's so many fun options, and everything is good. Like you kind of can't go wrong. There's only like two or three talents in this entire tree that are bad. So it's like you're just
Yeah.
gonna have fun.
The only thing that's going to be weird is the I think the priest tree you might want to move some things around based on what you're playing against, and
Definitely.
you can change them pretty quickly. I feel like, but you're going to have to make combos of like weird combinations of them both and label them very specifically. I don't know how many
Yeah,
builds you can have, but
you
I'm
can
just
have a
thinking,
ton, but it is kind of awkward because it takes like I hate this loading. That really sucks. Like I really hate the cast time to load your shit.
yeah,
But for the PvP talents, the new ones, like I was kind of mentioning, are the Eternal Rest, which has a lot of synergy with the Death talents. And where's the other one? Precognition is new too. That could be good into like Double Shaman or something. Catharsis. Catharsis is really insane, especially with the percentage HP buff that we have. This hits really hard. So this does a good chunk of my damage as well. And then, like I was saying, Void Volley has a lot of synergy with Dark Ascension still. I don't think you're going to ever want to play Driven to Madness with Dark Ascension because you're going to want your 1 minute
yeah, you want
going
everything
up.
else lined up together.
Yeah. Um, but you were mentioning like Warlock Shadow Priest being insane. And I think that
Great
comp is
combo.
going to be, if not the best comp in the game, the second best comp in the game compared to like DHDK or something. But the way I was imagining this isn't that's kind of my TLDR on like how to play Shadow Priest talents. But now in terms of like theory crafting comps, I think Demonology Warlock Shadow Priest is going to be a complete nightmare for everyone. Because Demo has the most insane burst of all time on a 1 minute cooldown as well, and it's way easier to pull off than like the previous iteration of Demo with Tyrant.
Yeah,
Tyrant's still part of your burst, but something else, Empowered Velstorm, is the big thing on a 1 minute go, and it's instant. So you can kind of set up that burst more consistently on a 1 minute cooldown. So like if you're playing Demo Shadow Priest, your 1 minute damage is going to absolutely nuke people. And hypothetically, you could rotate who does their damage every 30 seconds. And the priest could like you could even play like short silence, and then you'd have 30-second silence um, playing with the demo lock, and the demo lock has the stuns, and you could rotate your 1 minute goes every 30 seconds, just stun silencing somebody. And I feel like no one would have cooldowns to trade for that because you can both totally one shot every 1 minute. So if you're going every 30 seconds by rotating goes and doing that, like on paper, I feel like that's the best thing any comp could do. Like, and I feel like that's going to be the best comp.
I'm
But
definitely more of a 30-second kind of guy. It's hard
I
to
feel
keep it
yeah,
up for that whole minute.
it's that's tough. Yeah,
This is
takes a
my
lot of
this is what my initial impressions were when I was looking at the talents. I'm like, damn, all of these seem pretty good, and like you can move them around and combine them to benefit each other, and it's just a matter of like figuring out what works best into what comps. But it seems like just by looking at the talents, you can have a pretty good idea of what matchups they'd be good in.
Yeah, and it's so fun because there's so many synergies between talents. And then you have so many options with different builds that I think Shadow Priest, obviously our kit is extremely well rounded. And in general, like historically, Shadow Priest has done well with a ton of comps. But now we have even more versatility with this talent tree. So I think I'm maining Shadow Priest, by the way. I'm not even leveling my Druid until they upgrade the Druid talents. But this is like, I haven't seen a spec more versatile like ever than Shadow Priest.
It's also a
Like,
combination of all the previous expansions. Like Mop just like got together with Kata and then had an orgy with Shadowlands, and like you get all of the best parts of these previous versions. Because usually when they introduce a new spec, they like take everything else that was old out, and now you kind of get it all together.
yeah, it's super sick. So, a lot of people's old favorite things, like you were saying, and yeah, caters to so many different play styles. So I think Shadow Priest Warlock is gonna be absolutely nuts. I think Shadow Priest Assassination Rogue is still gonna be nuts. I mean, pretty much anything. Everything's gonna be good with Shadow Priest. So you're gonna do great with like, picking your partner in real threes, but with solo shuffle, you're absolutely insane as well. Because you can help a bad healer with like your kind of defensive utility. Fast MD is baseline, swap is baseline. You have double PI in these short solo shuffle games. Like it's fucking insane. You can solo anybody. You don't need to rely on your partner
This is
to.
something you could not do last season, by the way. If you left me untouched and I was just sitting there trying to kill like a Mistweaver or a Holy Paladin, like everyone would be at 100%. Pokemons would definitely do some damage, but most players, I felt like Shadow Priest did not have kill potential on their own. They were just there to be like annoying and disruptive. And you could still
Yeah,
do that, but also do big damn. So things are looking up, I would say.
I think so too. Self-healing is really high across the board, but dampening starts faster now. It's like a 10% dampening start in regular threes, like in addition to shuffle. But then I think shuffle stacks it faster. So yeah, and sustained damage is much more important as well. So Shadow Priest is in a great spot because their sustained is great, their burst is great, like, but nothing is like over the top ridiculous. So I think the odds of them getting nerfed are probably low compared to some other classes, but they're just like they're like, kind of 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 in every category compared to being like 15 out of 10 like nerf me in any one
Yeah.
category.
That's kind of how I
So
felt about season one of Shadow Priest was it just scaled so well that everything you did kind of mattered and you could play any comp and it would
yeah.
work out.
Yeah. So I think that's all the info I have for you, but I would definitely play this Mindbender build and practice it on some dummies. I'll show you how much damage it does if you want.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I'm just setting the spec right now, and then I think I'm gonna hop off for a bit and eat dinner with my girlfriend. But definitely appreciate you going over this with me and the rest of the people who keep asking me questions, and I'm like, fuck, bro, I have no idea. So I've always been someone to take information from other people that have more experience and knowledge, and I haven't done a lot of research, so it'll be fun to test it out, and we can stay in touch in terms of like what is working and
Hell
what's not
yeah.
working.
I love nerding out about this shit, and I have to take off some time from work to like get a surgery, so I've been nerding the fuck out. So if anyone wants to talk to me about this stuff, I have plenty of words. Plenty of words. Do you want me to show you the burst real quick on the dummy?
Yeah, sure.
You want to see it?
Let me pull up your
Okay.
stream again. There we go.
So you want to get up as many dots as you can, so you can ideally proc Death Speaker from Pain. So you kind of want to dot everything. Like you can just, yeah, you dot everything, Shadow Crash, whatever. You cast your Dark Ascension, you do have to cast it. But then once you get your Mindbender out, you just want to Mind Blast and Death as much as possible, period. Because it just procs the inescapable torment. So that's kind of the thing. And again, casting Mind Spike is your filler, something like that. But it does an insane amount of damage, like top damage by far, and it's AoE as well. So
Oh my god.
people are stacked. It's
Yeah,
really
that's
insane.
that's
Um,
nuclear. Even if you divided that number into three and it wasn't stacking though, like it would still be high. That's crazy.
yeah, and this is with the non-scaled PvP gear, and like I'm wearing greens and blues that scale up good in PvP. So mind games hit for 54k non-crit, but I've gotten 100k plus mind games easily in arena. So
Someone said,
it's
"What asked Dippy what healer will be best for DMLS play?"
right now Evoker is the best healer by far for pretty much every comp, but I would imagine it's going to get tuned down.
Because they do
I could
damage too. Like I got cranked by an evoker.
They do the Evoker healer does more burst than most DPS classes, so it's gonna get nerfed. So it's hard to say, but I don't know. Any healer with like a stun or any kind of most healers are gonna be good with shadow play. Honestly, I'm sure it would work with any healer. It's like such a versatile comp, but in general, you can just probably pick the most bottom healer.
Shadow play has always been an
Yeah,
easy comp to heal too. Because like you're not really not much is required of the healer.
yeah, you're gonna get every kick for them. You have so much utility and
You don't have
stealable
to play
CC.
offensive at all. Like you literally just sit there.
Yeah. So as it stands, Evoker, but I could imagine even like a Holy Priest or a Disc Priest being good with like the damage they can do as well, like double mind games. I could see Resto Druid being really good. Resto Shaman's kind of undertuned right now, but they also have Lasso now, so that's kind of sick. Um, but I don't think Resto Shaman so much. So like Evoker, Resto Druid, honestly Priest, and then definitely Paladin has good synergy too. Pally's kind of undertuned too, but they have Pally has a lot of CC right now, like a ton of CC. Excuse me, burping. Um, so most healers, most healers. Yeah,
Is there any way to link some of those
those
like just
builds.
just like literally what does it link the label too?
I'm not sure if it might kind of paste in with the label, but I can give you the
If
codes.
if you
Yeah,
just
I'll just link you
paste
the
me
codes
all
for.
of the things, I can try to label them
Sounds
too.
good. Um,
Cause,
show.
'cause I'll throw it in my Discord and well I'll put a YouTube video or something and we can link to
Sure.
Dippy's
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
and people can get information in PvP. But I gotta go
yeah.
because I
So
think my girlfriend's gonna punch me in the balls right now. So,
hell yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I just gotta read a screen proc. All right, so I'm gonna pretend like I was getting up and getting back down. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna
But
test this
yeah,
out tonight. But thanks so much for the help and hope your
of course.
surgery goes well and recovery and all
Thank
that
you. It's
stuff.
not gonna be for a bit, but yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna level my priest first, man, and then my demo is second. So
Oh,
we can
so
definitely
we're
do
gonna
it
team up on
together.
some
Oh
kind of
yeah, I'm
sketchy
gonna hit
shit.
that shit from every angle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. I kind of want to try like Asa Rogue seemed good. I feel like I might want to try Rogue, but we'll see what's good with the alts. I'm trying to play a little bit of Wrath still too, but I'm sure that's gonna die completely. It already felt kind of dead the last time I tried to play Wrath.
Yeah. Cool. Well, GG, man. Have a good night.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off. Talk to you later.
Peace, man. Yeah,
Peace.
yeah.
All right, that was very informative. That was 42 minutes of information. 42 minutes of Shadow Priest information. We're about to rake up that YouTube database, and Dippy's gonna link the loadouts to me, or I'll link them, and I'll put them in the description and put them in the Discord as well. So let's try this build out. It's a 1v1 against. I'm against a guy named Mini Dunks. I'm gonna damnation him from 50 yards away. Put him on focus as well. Cleaning him up. Dude, why do I always do this, man? I'm such a noob. Death is Pele. I'm such a noob. I'm such a noob. My binds don't work. Slash cast, power, and fusion. Got him. It's actually crazy how bad I am, too. Just first, whatever this thing is. Shield Trent. Death. Oh. I'm like not even really using any cooldowns, and he still seems like he's taking some damn. And you can fade out of these as well. Dude. Can I mount up? Hello? Alright, that's a big damn. I'm going to get off for now, but I'll be back later. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate Dippy's help, and I'll be on later. Let's see if I don't even know if he's still streaming, but I'll just. Maybe he's gonna play. I don't know. Yeah, I'll just raid him, and if he plays or not, doesn't play, whatever. I'm gonna be back later. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good PvP. Dude, things are looking up.